I hate it when I have to answer my own questions. There is a physics. We are actually picking up some very interesting hyperdimensional / torsion indications that aligning the Earth, the Sun, and the galaxy, which happens once every 26,000 years, has an effect, has a real physical effect. The question is, how much? We also have evidence that the in-crowd, you know, the Rockefellers, the De Beers, the Diamond Guys, the
Illuminati.
Well, we're talking Weishaupt
Bilderbergs.
now. The Bilderbergers, all those groups, all those really, really bad guy groups people love to hate now, that they know something, or more accurately, they think they know something, and they have been taking steps for the last 100 years to get ready. What's really interesting to me, and this was so cool when I figured it out and I was able to lay it out at the Joshua Tree Conference, which is not the first place that I've been laying this out. I've done several conferences now under almost like focus groups to see how people, you know, would stand up and salute when they saw this data. When Columbus sailed the ocean blue in 1492, one of the things he brought back was stuff from the Mayan calendar, Mayan codices. We are told they were burned, right? Wrong. I think they were sequestered in the Vatican archive. Who in their right mind, if they're around sopping up stuff, is going to destroy information? Forget the fact that they're not religious, that they're into saving their own skins, that they're looking for edges on society and politics and populations, and it's all about control. The cover story is, of course, if they're burned, there's nobody who can look at them anymore. So you can look at them in secret. So I think all these codices that the scholars lament, oh my God, they burned them, oh, they were so bad. No, they went back to the Vatican. The reason I know this, because the only way this could have worked out, is that in 1582, when a German scholar, Germany again, interesting, was set up by Pope Gregory to head a council to reform the calendar, because the seasons had gotten out of sequence with Easter and Christmas and birth of Christ and resurrection of Christ and all that. I mean, it really, you know, you can't have Christmas in July, and that was what was going on. So the calendar had to be reformed from the old Julian calendar. So Gregory sets Clavius, who's the German mathematician genius, to head this panel, you know, this presidential committee, if you want to think of it in those terms, to basically recommend changes in the calendar. And when all was said and done, they came out with a calendar which readjusted the dates, the seasons, the times, brought everything back in sync. It's called the Gregorian calendar. We live under it now. It took a while for it to percolate through various parts of Christendom and parts of the world that were not Christian and all that at the time. And so in 1583, it was set ahead 11 days. What's really interesting is if you look at the synchronization of the Mayan calendar and the Gregorian calendar, this very crucial date of 2012, according to the U.S. Naval Observatory, you can go to the web and go log on the Naval Observatory website, which is www.navy.gov.observatory or something like that. Google is your friend, so look it up on Google. And you will find that the magic moment, the Mayan moment when the world changes, doesn't end, but changes radically, is December 21, 2012 at 11:11 a.m. There is no way that can be accidental, because 11:11 is a code for the physics we've decoded from the monuments of Mars. And that's a long story, which we don't have time to get into now. But it's on the Enterprise website, and it's in the books, it's in Dark Mission, it's in Monuments, so you can go and read. The point is, there's no way that Clavius, Gregory's surrogate, with this German interesting secret society heritage, could have done this unless he either had an independent source of knowledge about calendars that was much more sophisticated. I mean, I've had a mathematics professor who was the head of the department at Fairleigh Dickinson University, which is a Catholic university in the United States, actually write on the record that he could not figure out how Clavius did this. It's too damn precise. So my supposition is that it was the secret codices brought back by Columbus et al., sequestered in the Vatican, with the Mayan calendar, where they were able to adjust the Gregorian calendar so it would come out at 11:11 a.m. the morning of the 21st, 2012.
Okay, so what happens?
Oh, I was afraid you'd ask me that. I don't know.
Are you working on that?
I'm working on it, of course. It's a work in progress.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and tell you what I don't know. I can tell you what I suspect.
Okay.
But because the implications are so serious and the amount of effort being spent by the bad guys is so great, I strongly infer that it's not going to be a good hair day for a lot of people. But I cannot take that to the bank yet.
Sure.
There are various ways that this could be changed radically. One way is if the guys in the black ops community who are playing with their secret toys, their secret spaceships, their secret space program, going to and from, looting the moon, finding the libraries, doing God knows what they're doing out there, if they suddenly realize that this technology is actually applicable to entire worlds, that there's a physics here that can literally take control of the planet and prevent bad things from happening. That would be really cool. Because the thing that would get us in the end is if there's a real problem coming and there isn't a damn thing we can do about it. Fortunately, based on all kinds of evidence, including the folks that you guys talk to all the time, everybody inside knows all this stuff. It's just us peons outside that are not supposed to know it.
Right.
Which means nothing has to be invented. All it has to be is redirected from over here, whatever they're doing with it, to over there, which is the planetary problem. And our job is to get people on the inside to realize they don't have a ticket out of here. That they're caught with all the rest of us.
That we're in it together.
We're all in it together because the lie has been different at every level. And even if they've been told they have a ticket to leave Dodge, they probably don't. So they have families and aunts and uncles and dogs and cats and mortgages and all that stuff, and they will be here when whatever is coming in 2012, based on a physics that I can document, is here. Keep this truth from them, and the cycle perpetuates ad nauseum unless we stop it here. So the name of the game, all of us who are looking at this from various facets, like the elephant, that's why the elephant is sitting over there, is we all need to combine our forces, our resources, our knowledge base, our goodwill, and most of all enlist you guys out there watching this and change the script. The tools are there. I now know the tools are there. No matter what is, quote, coming, it can be dealt with because the physics is so extraordinary. The problem is political and spiritual will. And there's a small group that want us, in the worst case scenario, to all go away. So they're not solving, they're not lifting a finger to solve the problem. In fact, they are perpetuating the illusion, the lie, being different at every level, that there is nothing that can be done. In fact, from our research, there is an extraordinary amount that can be done. In fact, it can be stopped. It can be changed. The first way that you conquer an enemy, and to them we are the enemy, is you make them conquer themselves. You make them give up. You make them want to stop fighting. You tell them it's hopeless. Remember the guys in Star Trek, the Borg, fighting them is futile. Resistance is futile. Well, it's not. That is another level of the lie.
Okay, so if you can take the next, where we have, 15 minutes and tell us in some kind of form or fashion, what kind of technology or what kind of physics are you talking about? Are you talking about time travel? Are you talking about, it's hyperdimensional physics, I'm sure. What is it that you see as the solution?
Wow.
Sure.
So, the other track, which frankly is the more interesting track to me, and it's been slowly coming up, the race analogy on the inside, on the inside rail, horse races, is the consciousness track. Because Art and George and I have been doing these consciousness experiments on Coast for years. We have demonstrated that there really is some undefinable, invisible ability of a mass of people focusing on the same objective to affect 3D reality. In part, I am sitting here because of that focused technology from art with the Coast audience, who, when I had the heart attack back in 1999, apart from all of Robin's ministrations and the homeopathics and her, instantaneous, immediate intervention, over the longer term, for that critical first week or so, when art was focusing people's consciousness on me, there was a difference. I really believe that that intervention in that critical first few days really was critical in getting me over that crisis, and then Robin's long-term, supplements and all the other things that she had me doing, and I was eating 10,000 pills per day, that all of that ultimately wound up with me having not one problem, sitting here in perfect health 10 years after that event. So I got to thinking, for obviously personal reasons, what if we could harness that technology, that invisible mind connection, to work on this same problem? And so we've been discussing quietly with George how we would set up some more controlled experiments. And there was one recently where, I forget who it was, who wanted to do something and had put up a countdown clock. And George had his audience focus on it. And sure enough, Princeton eggs, these random number generators that have been set up under the Consciousness Project at Princeton University, actually showed an effect. On time, on schedule, when people at a certain time of day, I forget when it was, were focusing on the experiment. Suppose we were to lay out in some large media format, in theater, on television, specials, whatever, this is the problem as we've determined it. These are the windows of vulnerability where intervention would be useful. And then we give people simply the database that this has worked over here, it can also work over there. And what we do is in the process, we democratically empower ordinary folks, in quotes, all over the world to collectively put aside their isms, their differences, their my God is bigger than your God nonsense, and we focus together as a collective human family to solve potentially the greatest problem in the history of the human family in this iteration of the world. And suppose it worked. That's our challenge. And that's why I'm doing what I do. That's why I wrote the book. And that's why I'm hoping you're enjoying what you're hearing on this program.
Okay, well that's very impressive. So you're taking, in a sense,